What is up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work to Game, and I wanted to talk about the new Fates. Now, with the Fate change, what we are seeing is that they're adding a reward beyond experience. And so I'm assuming that it's going to be something tied behind level cap. They said that the requirements would be really clear. We were handed a level capped character, and so we obviously had this thing available to us. And in the little shop pane that they showed in the live letter, it showed a riding map. That riding map cost, I believe it was 70 gems. Those numbers are all subject to change. And actually, Brian and I went ahead and grounded out. As of the build we were playing on, which was from April 30th, was when they said the build for the Media Tour was kind of locked out, and so all the people who played on the Media Tour played on the April 30th build. It took us, maybe an hour for Brian and I to just the two of us go clear enough Fates to unlock a riding map. The riding map just increased our speed in the zone, so just like they would before, it made a substantial difference. We actually kind of ran, he equipped his riding map first, and then we ran alongside each other on the ground just because we'd never had a chance to kind of compare how much faster it was, and it makes a substantial difference to get that 1-star boost to the speed. So I think this was a really neat way to add something in. Hopefully they'll have other things behind it. They said that the shop would have other kind of future things to it, so I would love to see them adding companions, maybe some mounts, things like that. Would be really neat. And it was just a really fun way to engage with the content and feel like I was actually doing something. Brian and I were using it as a way to test some of the jobs, even though we were sinking down, so we weren't getting to test the jobs at 80 that way, since the only things we had access to was the open world in zones below level 80, so stuff was just dying before you could get a full rotation off, or jumping into a dungeon, which takes substantially longer, and there's just the one dungeon, so you can only run it so many times. I would say this was a really fun and easy way to get in there and just play. The open world content is something that Brian and I have desperately been craving. I know Brian referenced it in his Final Fantasy 14 is dying video, that there's just certain things that we feel like the game needs more of to breathe life into it, and these zones felt really alive this way. And I don't know how long that'll last. Maybe that lasts you, if it took us an hour to get the riding map and there's half a dozen new zones, then maybe that really, by the time you buy everything you want on the store, maybe you're only out 20-30 hours, but that still for most people is a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks worth of playtime, 4 weeks worth of playtime. And so when you talk about an expansion that lasts 2 years, you have 104 weeks to fill. And so if the initial content serving of leveling up takes you, let's say, 2 weeks, you've got 102 weeks to go. And so if a limited job can buy you a week, okay, that's 101 weeks to go. And so something like this is just one more thing, one more tool in their belt to help you kind of feel like you had enough to do. By the time you add in all the content cycles, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, so on, next thing you know, you're talking about 90 weeks or 80 weeks. And so very quickly you get down to where it's like, oh, I like crafting and gathering. That's 70 weeks. And so the Fate system is not something that I think is meant to be a cure-all on its own, but it is something that it was hard to see the Fate system kind of give way to hunts, and then that kind of moved into Eureka. And that, I know there's still people that do hunts, and I know there's still plenty of things for Fates when you talk about things like Ixion and all that. But it just feels like an underused system to me, and so this was a really neat way to see that. I would love to see them add other rewards. That's another question Brian and I asked in the interview. If you haven't watched our interview yet, it was a 45-minute interview with Yoshi P, and I think us talking about how we felt about it took the same amount of time, so I don't know how that works. But does this totally fix the open world and keep it breathable forever and ever? No. But does this show that they're coming up with unique systems where once you're done, this starts to say, hey, just because you have all your jobs at cap doesn't mean you can't be out there kind of helping with people and enjoying the content. So I was really excited about that, and I look forward to seeing kind of what rewards are. I know they were probably very careful with what they showed us, so it was basically some crafting mats, an orchestrant scroll, the riding map, and I think a house thing. But I would love to see them starting to put minions in there and all sorts of other fun stuff, and I would expect them to. I would expect them, if they have zone-specific glamour, it would be a really cool way to kind of tie that stuff in there. So keep in mind this will only be for 5.0 Fates and forward, so that makes sense to me. That and if they can think of a way to drive us back into old Fates or something, that would be cool. But if not, this is at least a step in the right direction, and now it's just about getting new players to the current zone so that they can enjoy all these replayability features that hopefully we'll enjoy. My name is Chris with Work to Game. I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions about Fates or anything like that, leave them in the comments below. Brian and I ran a lot of Fates as we kind of explored the new world to try things out. It was a great chance for us to see the new jobs in action, so it was a really easy way to kind of just try each job out, and we'd be happy to kind of share with you. I know that we're not going to get to everything we experience, so if you have any questions about anything else, we've been keeping our mouth shut so long that at this point I want to make sure that I go back and answer any questions that maybe I missed in comments before, because I've been trying not to read all the comments because it's been really hard to not reply to you guys like we typically try to. So it was our first embargoed event, so I know some of the other creators were able to get things out and respond to things and do a better job of covering things during this window, and that's something that Brian and I hope to hopefully get a lot better at if we're ever given the opportunity to have early access to something again. So my name is Chris with Work to Game. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. YouTube has a pretty cool video waiting for you over here. Our latest vlog is down below. For those of you new, subscribe is over here, and all of our other contact info is just right below me here. Thanks for watching.